Hi, this is JP Morgan. Today on the Slanted Lens, we're going to do a hands-on review of the GFX 100S. I'm excited about this camera because it's a 102 megapixel camera in a slim, small kind of DSLR body. This video is sponsored by Canva. So we have Chanda here, Chanda M. She's been with us before. She's got an outfit that Joe designed, and this is going to be what we're going to shoot tonight. So Joe, tell us about your outfit.
So this is the Little Red Riding Hood streetwear style outfit. I kind of wanted to incorporate like the Japanese, because I love Japanese style, and the streetwear in Japan right now, it's like, it kind of looks like this. So I kind of wanted to bring that in.
I love that thought. And we've got a nice setup here. We've got the trees, and we're going to have smoke. We're going to have a big bad wolf way in the background. So we can take some images and just see exactly what we've got. I want to test out the GFX 100S and see it in a real life situation, in a real shoot, how it works. We're going to be using strobes, Westcott FJ400s. We're going to be shooting away and just get as many images as we can. So should we shoot?
Yes.
Should we do it?
Yes, this should be fun.
Okay, let's do it. So this body feels very nice to me in my hand. I've got a nice size grip here, which I miss on a lot of mirrorless cameras because they are so small and you don't get this grip, which makes it so comfortable in your hand. There's a little groove right in here underneath my thumb. I can really hold this and feel very comfortable with it in my hand. All the buttons are right where I need them to be. Boy, I think it's just the size of the camera which gives you the ability to get those things where you want them to be. But the camera is very small compared to that GFX 100, which I didn't love the GFX 100, that big battery situation on the bottom. I don't know, it's just a little too large for me. This feels like the right size. It's just the right, ergonomically, just everything's in the right place, works really well. So the GFX 100S has a 16-bit internal recording, so that's a huge file. Quite frankly, you can shoot a 14-bit with this camera and it's gonna make it work a lot faster. It's gonna buffer better. You're gonna be able to shoot more images in a row. And I think the quality is pretty hard to be able to tell the difference between the two. So I would suggest shooting 14-bit unless you really are gonna blow these up and make large images. So 16-bit, that's a huge file, but we're gonna shoot 14-bit pretty much today. The one advantage this does have is that it has electronic shutter. So that's an advantage of this camera. Just having electronic shutter is a great advantage. If you want that quiet shutter, shooting in any kind of a situation where you don't want the noise, an electronic shutter is really, really important. And this is a pretty loud shutter, actually. It's giving me that clunk, clunk, you know, it's a pretty loud shutter. So electronic shutter really is a great advantage of this camera. So the autofocus has been working really well. I've got it focused on her face. I have the square, single point square on her face, but then it picks up the eye detect in her, inside that square as well. And it's allowing her to jump forward, and it's following her as she jumps forward. So it's doing an excellent job. I'm very, very pleased with how it's following and tracking her. So if you're a video nut, and I am, this camera has internally 420. But the really nice thing about these cameras is that using an external recorder, you can get a 10-bit 422, or you can get a 12-bit RAW out of this, which is really fabulous to have that 12-bit RAW. That gives you a ton of information. We did a lesson on this looking at medium format video. You should check that out because it really has a shallow depth of field, a beautiful image. There's just something about medium format video. It has a look of its own and it's really pretty to see. One of the disadvantages of this camera, which is really unfortunate, is the resolution of the viewfinder is just around 36,000 versus the GFX 100, which had a beautiful viewfinder, was more around 57,000. So you don't get as clear an image with this. Your magnification is not quite as large either. And so those two things are a little bit of a disadvantage when you're viewing these images, the large images, be able to see that quality, be able to see the focus. It's just not quite the advantage you had with the GFX 100. That's a bit of a downside, unfortunately. Hi, this is JP Morgan. We've started to use Canva here at the Slanted Lens to make more interesting posts quicker. Wait a minute, this isn't interesting, this is boring. We need to add our logo. Better. Now it needs to move, animate that logo. I love that. How about some cool arrows so people look at my face? Hold your horses here. Why isn't this moving? A video will make it more engaging and people will be more likely to watch it. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. You want your images to move if you're going to do something on Canva. We all do social media. We need to create posts quick, posts that move. Video is the thing we want to do. Canva has templates, it has GIFs, it has all kinds of video elements that make it so easy to create a video. Put those GIFs in, quickly add them, subtract them, move them around, get your video out there, use your own video or use video from their library. They have so many things to call upon. Canva is a quick and easy way to create social media posts using stills and video. Yes, videos. Canva is offering 45 days free with their Pro subscription if you click on the link down in the description below. So sign up for Canva today. I was really interested to check out the 5-axis stabilization on this camera and the ISO capabilities. Now I've seen the GFX 100, same sensor and how it responds to ISO, but we'll just look at this very quickly here and also look at the stabilization. The first image is 400 ISO and 1/8 of a second. And it's really fascinating because if you look at this, there's movement, a little bit of movement in her eyebrows. Her lips are pretty sharp. This is handheld at 1/8 of a second with a continuous light. It is not with a strobe light. So, I mean, that's pretty impressive actually at 1/8 of a second. But when you go to 800 ISO, if you look at the background here, we're starting to see a little bit of noise. And when we go to 1600 ISO, right on that bridge of the nose here, you see a shadow, a highlight, and a transition. That transition, when you start getting bad ISO performance, that transition starts to go red. It's pretty clean at 800, pretty clean at 400, but when we get to up here to 1600 at a 30th of a second, transition is starting to give me a little bit of red there. We're seeing a little more grain in the background, that kind of digital noise. When I go to 3200, now you really start to see it. We start to see a lot of grain, well, I keep saying grain, a lot of digital noise in that shadow. We see that red line in the transition. Then when we go to 6400, we see a major kind of, that red line becomes very distinct. The digital noise is building all through the skin now. Of course, 12,800, it pretty much falls off a cliff. I mean, there's noise everywhere. I would probably not feel super comfortable going beyond 800 ISO. I just think at 800, I'm still getting a decent image. I would try to stay around 4 or below. That's just me. I love the images to be as clean as possible. So that's where I'd put it. But you make a compromise. If you need an image and you need the ISO, then you shoot it. If you're doing soccer at nighttime, you need, you know, a fast ISO so you can give yourself a fast shutter speed, then you do what you have to and you let the grain be part of the process. Also, I just want, on this, as far as handheld, that 1/15 of a second on that 5-axis stabilization is pretty dang good for handheld with a tungsten light, continuous light. And then we go to 1/8 of a second. I'm sharp at 1/8 of a second. I don't have any qualms with 1/8 of a second here. Look at that. Then we go to, obviously, a 30th, no problem. And then from there on up, it's just solid as can be. Excellent test to look at on that camera. Color looks fabulous, and the stabilization is easily down to a 15th of a second or 1/8 of a second, which is giving you a pretty good, usually you say a 60th, so you're getting like 3 stops you can handle there. But that's also on a 63mm lens, and that's much different than if you're using like the 100mm lens. Not going to be able to stabilize it quite as far. All right, so who's this camera for? You know, if you want to do landscape photography or any kind of travel or street photography, this is an incredible camera because it's small enough to carry with you, yet it's going to give you a beautiful large image. Is this a wedding camera? I don't think so. I mean, you may get a few shots of the bride. It's just kind of a novelty thing, give you that large image. But the reality is that it's just going to take so much card space to move these images around that it's going to be hard to keep up with a wedding. To be able to shoot a wedding with this be really hard. I think it's better for portraiture, any kind of a setting or a couple, if you're doing engagements, those kinds of things. You can shoot at a pace that makes it worthwhile, and this works. So excellent camera, love the size, love the weight. I was way more impressed with the autofocus than I thought I was going to be. It stayed right with my subject, the eye focus was working. So the price point for this camera makes it, I think, the best deal out there for a medium format. It's a large enough file to make it worth spending the money, and it's really an effective enough camera, small enough that it's going to make it worthwhile to have and be able to travel with. So excellent camera all the way around. If you have any comments, leave them below. We'd love to hear from you, so keep those cameras rolling and keep on clicking.